Would you block me?
Just to make sure the
Are we live?
this is
We're not live. We're just
well, it's
recording.
not live.
Such an idiot.
Is this the cloud? Is this the cloud? Where I don't see any clouds.
LJ, this is the cloud. This is the cell phone. This is your tablet. This
Cloud's
is
here.
Oh my god.
That's your cell phone. That's your
Anyway,
tablet.
this is our very first attempt to do a podcast. Why did we want to do a podcast in the first place? And what are we drinking? I don't know. You just served me something. You didn't even ask what I wanted. I was kind of.
I was being assumptive.
I know. Okay. Just, you know what? You should probably do that in sales. But I can't even hold it.
That's just like a little bit of Himalayan salt and some lemon and water. Keep you
So
hydrated.
like your
man.
morning drink.
It's my morning drink. Delicious.
Yes. So we're having a morning drink at 5:40.
It's a hydration drink, not a morning drink. Keep you hydrated.
Okay.
You're dehydrated, man. I can see in your lips.
I am actually since yesterday. That's why I'm like drink here.
Why do we want to do a podcast?
Yeah. Like, what do we really want to talk about? How did it even start? Who suggested it? Did I suggest it? Did you? I can't even remember.
I don't know. I think it was a two-way street. I think it was a two-way street.
It's always a two-way street.
I was pretty, because I've done YouTube stuff before and I listen to podcasts. If I'm by myself, I'm listening to a podcast.
Me too.
Sometimes it's like a motivational podcast or like a intellectual podcast, and then I have some casual podcasts I listen to that just like talk about
Which is like
the casual podcasts. One of them was
this is a shout out, by the way. Yeah.
the casual podcast. It's not honestly, these guys are way too popular. It's honestly more just like, video game podcasts. I listen to probably a little bit more video game stuff than I actually play. Like I haven't played a video game since like maybe last Saturday because I've been too busy. But like it's still an interest of mine, so I listen to some guys talk about like what's new or what they're doing and stuff like that. That's like my casual ones.
When do you listen to a casual podcast? When do you listen to like a more business oriented or
So the more developmental podcasts
Yeah.
are like when I'm like in a developmental state. So if I'm driving to work, I'm listening to audiobooks or intellectual podcasts. When I'm driving home, same thing, because everything's switched on. Like from Monday to Friday, pretty switched on like that. But then like Friday night after swimming, I'll clean the house and then I might like mellow out and listen to some guys talk about video games. Or if Diane's gone, Saturday morning and I'm cooking breakfast, I might listen to more casual, like more dorky podcast.
Yeah, sure. I listen to mostly. Well, I like CrossFit. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. But,
That's bodybuilding.
but I listen to a lot of podcasts from. I told you that the other day. Shrug Collective, which was previously Barbell Shrug, but they talk about those guys really go deep into training and business and methodology, and they kind of go. They believe in CrossFit methodology, but then they also explore like movement, training barefoot, like just everything around the business aspect of health and fitness. But mostly that's what I listen to.
See, some of the podcasts I listen to is also like the guys from On It. So like Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
And then the guys from On It as well have podcasts where they'll talk
Aubrey Marcus, is that?
No. Like
That's a different guy.
Brendan Schaub and Brian Callum. So their podcast called Fighter and the Kid. I don't know. It kind of seems like at the start, it's kind of just like buddies reconnecting. They just kind of shoot the shit. Once they're done shooting the shit a little bit, it's almost like once they almost kind of run out of a little bit of flow or a little bit of just like they just talk about their lives and stuff going on. And then once they run out of that, then they'll talk about like things going on in the world. Where they'll have like almost a guy on the side who's on a laptop, like their little assistant or producer or something, he'll like just kind of Google like current news, whether it's in the city or in the world or in the country, like wherever it
And they
is.
just chat about that.
They'll just chat about their thoughts and emotions on it.
I got you. So when did you, since we're starting our very own, or attempting to start our very own, when did you start listening to podcasts? What triggered it? Because obviously I'm late in technology. So I was like, it's just computer and YouTube. All my information was like YouTube.
So when did you start listening to podcasts?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think all these personal development stuff, in terms of like pretty much everything, business, fitness, health, it all started with one book that I read, and I actually finished the book, and now I can't remember, but it's by Darren Hardy. Compound Effect. Have you ever
heard of it?
Okay. So that book is basically kind of what led me to guys like Jim Rohn, who was like I think he was the CEO or founder of Herbalife. And then you have Tony Robbins, which is the one he mentored. Who obviously you know who Tony Robbins is. But it all started with that book, and then it kind of branched out. And then from listening to or watching Jim Rohn's videos, by the way, he's gone. He passed away years and years ago. He said that one of the best things that you can do is read. However, I find that I don't have a lot of time. I have 4 kids, by the way.
Hashtag 4 kids.
4 kids. Oh, in the middle of a podcast. Sorry, guys. I'm in the middle of recording a podcast, but I will be home as soon as I can.
It's a big businessman.
We are
big businessman.
Yeah, I'm in front of camera right now. I'm kind of important. So, okay, love you. Bye. All right. So I find that
kind of important right now.
So
when did you start? When did you know what a podcast was? He just learned about the cloud.
Yeah.
And then he learned about podcast.
Anyways, so that's probably 2016. So it's been
2 years.
2 years. It's only been 2 years. But I read somewhere or somehow that, you know, if you don't have time to read, or some people are more into listening than reading, I kind of enjoy both. I have a lot of books. I feel smart when I look at my collection of books. I haven't read them all yet. It's just,
I'm smart.
Yeah.
Look at these books.
But yeah, right? Like I tell my wife hey, for Christmas I want this book. This, and this. I gotta read it. It's very important. So I probably have about another 8 to 9 books that I have to go through. She bought me. Okay. But going back to the podcast, I feel like I don't have time to read. Never really liked reading before, but after I read that book, The Compound Effect, it kind of like sparked
more to develop yourself.
Yeah, wanting more information, and I find that just because everything is so fast paced, that I feel like when I'm driving or when I'm showering or when I'm cooking is the time to learn, right? Because I can't really have a book in one hand and cook with the other.
Yeah.
Well, you can.
It's not very effectively.
Yeah. So.
Mine's like a little different. I'm more of just a big dork. So probably I found podcasts like 10 years ago, but I stumbled on it through iTunes, and I stumbled on it just kind of looking for stuff, or maybe honestly the first podcast I probably listened to was like a World of Warcraft podcast. So I wasn't looking for anything developmental. I was looking for something to listen to while I was playing the game, just to get information on it. So I found one that I liked, and then it turns out that guy who made that podcast made like a bunch of different podcasts. So that was his business. So he had like a World of Warcraft podcast. He had a podcast called Film Sack where he does like movies. So him and his boy will watch a movie and then they'll talk about it. Not even review, but just talk about it. And then he has, so his big one now is the morning stream. So he just has a morning show. It's literally like a talk show morning where they just talk every morning. It's kind of like, it's like a replacement for the radio.
I gotcha.
But it's no longer a radio show. It's just a morning
a
morning show. And then his biggest one though is his World of Warcraft podcast. It was like really big when that game first came out. And then from there, I listened to that a lot, and then I started stumbling on other things that I found were interesting in the podcast realm and stuff like that. But for me, I try to balance my time and my mind, because if I feel like I'm always trying to develop myself, I feel like I'm always working for me. So, like I said, basically anytime I'm working through Monday through Friday is like when I'm focused on, like I can develop myself and I'm focused in like, but on the weekends it's just whatever I want to listen to. Same thing with reading. So like, if I'm in the morning, I might read a developmental book. Might, if there's time, because I sleep in too much. But at nighttime, before bed, like I'll read in bed to make myself sleepy, and that's normally like a fantasy novel or something that's like playful.
I gotcha.
It's more relaxing for my mind, and it's like
that like thinking,
it's stirring thoughts. Like lots of these like developmental books and podcasts and stuff make me reflect on past situations, reflect on future situations.
Yeah, makes you want to like get up and like write something, make notes.
Yeah, just start thinking about how I'm going to handle things in the future, or how I should have done things in the past. And you just move, like it moves your brain around so much. Whereas like fantasy is more just kind of creating an imagination, like a story in my mind, and once it's done, it's done.
Now that you kind of mentioned book again, actually it wasn't podcasts that I was listening to at first. Audiobooks was the first one. So instead of reading books, because like I said, I wanted to read books.
Yeah.
So instead of reading books, I listened to books.
I found I tried to get into audiobooks too a while ago. Yeah. And when I tried to get into audiobooks, they were so dull. Like the guys who read them were like robots.
So now
it's better now.
Now that you're saying that, no, it's still like most of the books that I try and listen to.
Yeah.
It's still like that. It's like just like monotone.
Oh, it's rough sometimes.
Right?
It's real rough.
So what I found was I would listen to them, and then train of thought starts to flow, and then you're like, and then all of a sudden you get distracted by something because you just have headphones or it's playing the speaker. You look around, you lose train of thought, and because it's so
monotone, it just goes in the background.
And then it's almost like, I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes when I read and then it gets boring, like there's a part that gets boring, like you're reading the words, you know you're reading it, but like your comprehension, like I don't really understand what I just read. Yeah. So same thing when I listen to
I read the page over again, be like, I didn't even read that. I looked at it, but I didn't read it.
Yeah. I read it, but I just didn't understand it. So the comprehension part was like down there.
Yeah.
So now I think that's what made me seek to what can I listen to. Actually, I think I transitioned from there to YouTube videos, but it's more of like a review of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to get like this.
Summaries are good.
Yeah.
So Aubrey Marcus released a book, Own the Day.
Yeah.
The audiobook was 14 hours. I listened to a 45-minute summary, and I feel like I got
everything you needed. So yeah,
even this drink is out of his book. Yeah. He recommended this.
Really?
Yeah, this is his thing.
So yeah, I guess that's what kind of happens. Like, listen to audiobooks, now it gets boring. And then I got into YouTube conversations, and then for some reason I think YouTube uses more data.
Oh yeah.
Rogers.
Video.
Uses more data when I play it, so like I'm outside and I'm trying to play or I'm driving and I'm trying to...
He doesn't know he uses more data. It's video.
I know that now. I didn't know that then.
Choose data. So bad.
So I was like...
$200 cell phone.
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, I mean, they give you notification. I'm like, it's like, I'm into first week of this cycle of the month and I already used up my data.
Yeah.
That's why I talked to my provider and upped it. Anyways, so I know at this point I cannot use YouTube. Audiobooks is a little dull for me. So I'm like, what can I do?
Unless you have the right reader.
Exactly. And then that's, I guess, for long story short, I got into podcast at that point. After I'm like, YouTube doesn't work for me. Audiobooks sometimes work, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And reading a book.
I find podcasts are a little more natural because it's a little more live. It's a little bit more like relatable because it's like this guy's having conversations versus an audiobook. It's like there's a difference between like even if I was asking you questions right now, being like, so Eljay, blah 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 blah. It's like it feels robotic even if you're reading it. So I have a audiobook by Jocko Willink. You know who I'm talking about?
No idea. Yeah. I don't know everything, Eric.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, Jocko Willink. So this book.
Who is he?
Extreme Ownership. He's a U.S. Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah, you told me. Well, you mentioned
his voice is intense. Like even just.
That didn't mean all was truly quiet, but only that they couldn't see any movement.
Sounds like
The night was dark as he saw four stepped off and swiftly but silently made our
It's a little bit.
sounds
more,
like he's a biker dude that smoked for like ages and ages and ages.
Sounds like he's
like, you know, man.
Yeah. He sounds a bit of a badass. So he's reading his own book. So he wrote that book
Yeah.
and he's reading it, but his voice sells it a little more because you're like, yo, this guy's a Navy SEAL. He's a badass. Like when he talks about warfare.
I've listened to this guy.
So this guy talks about warfare and translates it into like how business sense is because it's just literally like handling problems. How do you handle problems? Like whether it's in warfare or a fight or it's a business problem, it's all kind of it all kind of translates a little bit.
Speaking of extreme ownership, you told me
You look like you're gonna call me out right
about a month ago that you were gonna give me this. You're gonna hand me this book after you're done reading it.
Not this book. What book? You don't even know. You
What
just
was
want
that
a book. You just want a
What was
book.
that then?
The subtle art. The subtle art of
I'm
not
not
giving
giving
a
up.
fuck.
Are we allowed to swear here?
That's your. I don't know.
Oh, fuck.
We don't know. Fuck you.
Fuck are you? Okay, I think if anyone else is going to be watching this, and we're not just going to keep it for ourselves, that's kind of, there you go. I think we should introduce ourselves. Who is Eric Berg? Berg or Burge?
Berg.
Berg. Who is Eric Berg? Can't even answer it. Did you just flex? I saw you flex. Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up to you, man. We don't all CrossFit as much as you.
Well, I told you to do more burpees. You don't listen to me.
Burpees, yeah. Burpees gets you jacked. That's his false information.
Ask my wife what I did for a workout Christmas Eve last year.
Your one workout doesn't allow you to clean 300.
You want to see my programming? It translates, bro.
Getting too defensive.
It translates, okay?
Too defensive of burpees.
Yeah. Who is Eric?
I don't
Let's
know.
since you're hosting this in your beautiful home that I haven't seen yet because we're kind of running out of time because my wife has.
When you gonna roll?
I probably got about another 10 here.
Maybe like 5.
How long does it take if I was gonna go to South?
Well, I don't want you to be late. I want the wife to actually,
Yes.
like me and not hate me for stealing all your
I
time.
know. Yep.
I don't know how to fully say who I am right now, though.
Okay. Well, should that be for another episode then?
Can you
Our
say
next-
who you are?
Next.
Father of 4 kids,
Yeah.
fitness manager, CrossFitter.
Son of God, father of 4, husband of AJ Lopez, CrossFitter. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's not who you are, though.
That's not who I am. I don't know. That's tough. That was a. You know what? I apologize. That was a tough question that I put on you.
To just say who you are, like there's so many.
Okay,
pieces.
well let's just introduce us and then maybe
This is what I'll
just
say
a
too.
snapshot
For
of
podcasting, just in general, whether this turns into a real thing or not,
it's gonna turn into a real thing. It's
If
gonna be
this-
huge.
I would
Word.
honestly want to do more than one.
What do you mean?
More than one style
Of
podcast.
yeah.
If this is like the health and fitness one, then maybe there's one where we just
This is gonna be a
where we
lot
just
of things.
BS. Or this is just so like that's what I'm saying. Like you said, you wanted this to be like a health and fitness podcast.
Well, I feel like that's the industry we're in, and I feel like that's the majority. When I say majority, it's not all.
Majority
of what we do and what we think of day in and day out.
Yeah, we have more to offer though.
I have a lot more to offer.
So if it's just like more of like I don't know, like the podcasts that I enjoy the most are not specifically targeted podcasts. They're like very generic.
Yeah.
I buy in more to the people than I do to the topics. So like all the podcasts I listen to, I enjoy listening to the people more than the topics. Like because they resonate with me. The people, it's like when you watch a good TV show, your favorite character, your favorite superhero is the one that resonates the most with you. The same thing when I'm hearing a podcaster talk. Like I'm an extremely intelligent business person, but if his philosophies and theories don't resonate with me.
Exactly.
So this is like more of a me and you thing, not like a health and fitness thing. This is Eric and Eljay.
We will touch on health and fitness though, because I feel like that's
for sure. That's what we are. That's what we are.
Health, fitness.
Fuck.
Health, fitness.
That's like a big part of it, but yeah, I'm just saying my idea is that this is more than just a health and fitness. This is Eric and Eljay.
I guess what I was
we're branding ourselves, not health and fitness.
I know. So I guess what I was trying to ask earlier is just, I kind of want to know, or what's the background of this guy that I'm listening to? Like, who is he outside of what they've heard so far? Like, if I'm going to click on podcast number 2, right? Which will happen. Fucking right. Right? Like, who is...
Like, you want like a 60-second summarized life?
Who the fuck are you, bro?
My 60-second summarized life.
Yes.
So...
You know what? I'm going to start.
Okay.
I was born and raised in the Philippines. I came here to Calgary, Alberta, 2009, and I met my beautiful wife working at the airport. And now, all of a sudden, I'm here for the last close to 10 years now. And I've been in the health and fitness industry for 6 years, just a little over 6 years. And I enjoy it. And I think it changed my life, the way I live and the way I provide for my family. That's why originally I thought I wanted a health and fitness podcast, because it has affected me a lot. It changed me a lot. I used to smoke and drink. My heaviest weight that I was 235 pounds, and right now I'm a sexy 180 pounder.
Sexy.
Fucking sexy.
So yeah, I still think when we say health and fitness change you, there's so much other things that like changed you and affected you. And Eljay has
I just thought I'd give it. Instead of them looking at my pecs and my triceps and biceps to like have an idea.
So Eljay has more to offer than just health
like,
and fitness to change people's lives. Like your personality, you're a big personality.
No,
you have a lot of confidence.
You say that, but
yeah, well, you're a weak personality,
I know.
Baby back bitch. No, so you have a big personality, you have a lot of confidence, and that spools out. Like, I believe people affect each other without even realizing it. You probably have so many people who look up to you, who wish they could be you, or wish they had your attributes, and you don't even know it. These are people that just like are in the shadows looking at you. And I think everybody has those on different levels. People put like people on pedestals. So when people look at you, your confidence, your energy, your smile, your like, the way you act and the way you treat people affects more than you would know. And it's not just because you exercise. It's not just because you help other people exercise. It's not just because you inspire others to exercise. Eljay himself, like everything that makes Eljay, changes people. So for me, like my side, like my summer.
Thanks, bro. That made me feel good.
I was born in the...
turned me on a little bit.
I was born in Calgary. When I was a kid, I used to get bullied a lot. So my confidence was really low from being very small, very skinny. I always wanted to be an actor, though. I was like, really wild and out there. Jim Carrey was like my inspiration. I used to watch Jim Carrey movies and just he was so like wild and like out there. And I used to be like that way as a kid, and then kind of as I started to go like into junior high, into high school, and continuously getting bullied, me putting myself out there and opening up to everybody actually started to dwindle because I just kind of felt like I was getting beaten down a lot, right? So I trained martial arts like Shotokan and boxing and stuff to fight back the bullies that were bothering me, thinking that would make me feel more confident, but it didn't. I could fight back, but like it didn't like make me feel better on who I was on the inside. I actually got this job because I told myself I couldn't do it. I didn't have the confidence to be in the health and fitness industry, even doing things that I've done in my life now, from like making YouTube pages, like making a bunch of YouTube videos, to even attempting a podcast like this. There's a deep part of me that says, like, confidence wise, like, why even try? Why bother? I don't think I could do this type of deal. But then there's another side of me that's just like, I'm just gonna do it, like F it, and throw myself in full force.
Confidence. That's a big topic. I feel
it's a big topic, but a lot of it, like, I talked to probably 2 people in the past 48 hours about confidence and an external source, because in our industry, we deal with so many people who want to lose weight, build muscle, get a six-pack. And I've had a six-pack my entire life. I'm 30 years old. I still have a six-pack. And it is not the answer to, like, self-confidence, love, like loving yourself.
I don't right now, by the way, but it will change.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so many people get caught up in this external BS, being like, if I get a six-pack, I'm going to be more confident. And it's not really the case. Like, maybe it helps a bit, but it's not like the piece.
It's like some guys, I'm going to buy a really nice car. And then, you know what, maybe I'll feel better about myself.
If I get a really sexy car, I'll get a really sexy girlfriend. Or if I have $1 million, I'll be happy. But there's so many millionaires who are doing cocaine and drugs and getting divorced and having kids that they don't know about. And they're just living these crazy lifestyles because they're so depressed and they're so out of it. Like, they're not in touch with the things that I think makes a fully functioning, capable, balanced human.
Or I think what we're trying to say here is there's a lot of people out there that just has the wrong focus, or they don't know.
It's not taking care of themselves. Somebody told me there's a difference between health and fitness. They're 2 different categories. Fitness right now, not the definition, but how people perceive fitness, is shredded, bodybuilder, aesthetics. Yeah. People do not identify fitness as like capability. And health isn't like, health is like, I guess, how you live your life. Like, what do you do? Like, health is like how you feel, how you take care of yourself. But health isn't being able to clean 225 pounds. Health is like, I can walk up the stairs properly, I can get to my car, I can walk my dog, I can cook my food. It's like bare minimum standards of like being able to move and enjoy life is health. So that's a lot, but that's why I don't want this podcast to just be health and fitness focused, because I feel like there's so much more we could talk about. Whether we're discussing business and sales, we could talk about confidence and self-love, we could talk about health and fitness, we could talk about a movie.
Do you feel like you're confident now?
I feel like that's a great question, and it's a hard one for me to answer sometimes, but for the most part, I would say yes and no. And it wavers depending on the day, depending on how I feel. Which is upsetting, but it's just the truth.
Well, it is.
Sometimes,
it is what it is right now.
And it depends on where I'm at and what I'm doing. If we were gonna like do an obstacle course, we're gonna go to like Ingenation where there's like an obstacle course. Would I have confidence in like destroying that obstacle course? I'd be like, fuck, I will destroy you, Eljay. I smoke you. But like doing a podcast, making YouTube videos, like right now.
Something you're not used to, I guess.
So I talked to my client Avneet yesterday about posting on Instagram about the email blast that we send out to our clients. Still haven't done that. It's been on my mind like fucking 10 times.
I know. I went to your Instagram story. I'm like, did he post anything?
It's 10.
Because I told you when I first did my email blast, I'm like,
I know.
The next step
is social media, and I'm not I'm comfortable talking to the camera, but where I'm not comfortable is it just being like fully letting myself out there.
Yeah,
Whether
well, you'll have critics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People, not everyone will like what you put out there.
Deep down, I know that like that doesn't matter, but then there's also a part of me that still cares. That still gets affected and tweaked a little bit. Mm-hmm. So like my confidence, like, it kind of depends on. Like I don't know if you can say confidence is just like one thing. It's just you're either confident or you're not.
I think this is a topic that we can tackle again, whether on the second podcast, third, fourth, whatever. But I think it is worthy of.
That being said, I would say. So one of my questions for you, I would say that you're confident. If somebody asks, is Eljay confident with everything in life? I'd be like, yeah, Eljay's confident in everything in life. But on that flip side, if you ask me that question about myself, I would probably say no. But if you ask some people who know me, they might say yes. And I don't know if that's just because of a shadow or a mask or just perception, because it's different, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like my confidence, from what I remember, always stems out from me being raised by my dad, my mom, and my grandpa. That they are like, hey, try this. If you fail, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can try again later, or we can try something else. But you always have, it doesn't matter if it's a big decision or a small decision, it's always like you have something to fall back on. Your foundation, your family, your faith, everything, your foundation is solid. You can branch out to whatever you want, and if you fall back, it's always a solid freaking foundation for you that you can get up to and try again. I feel like that's why I just want to try things. I want to be good at things, and then.
That's interesting though, because I would say my foundation of like family, faith, all those things is shaky platform. I think my parents tried their damnedest to ensure that platform was solid, and I might have said it was when I was a child, but watching my mom go through really hard times, watching my brother go through really hard times, and watching my dad, like, my dad's a great guy, but he just works so much. I don't know, but like it just feels like that foundation, my fallback doesn't feel as strong. Like if I fail right now, I don't feel like I have that much fallback. So I feel like I have to push on full force. Like failure or fallback or hiccups is not an option. Like I gotta keep going like full force.
Which could be a good thing or a bad thing. Again, it could make give you like that option to have wiser decisions. As for me, I'm like, I'm in debt. I don't have savings. I don't even own a house yet. But it's like, just because I'm like, look, right now, I'm learning the hard way. Just because I'm so like happy-go-lucky. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. If I fail, I just go back to ground zero. You know. It's
so for me, I would take confidence out of the picture. If we talk about success, if you're like, Eric, are you successful? I'd say yes. I'm very successful. Not stemming through my confidence, but stemming through pure work ethic. I can turn a switch on where I can work like a dog and just go hard. And I believe that that's a switch that a lot of people lack. I told you this before. I fucking hate it when somebody says like, I'm just like super lazy, man. It's just how I am. I'm like, well, if you admit it to the universe and you just spit it out there saying,
that's gonna happen.
I am this way, then yes, you are lazy. But if you say, I feel lazy, but I don't want to be anymore, that's the catalyst of change. So when I say like I'm not a lazy person, I say to the universe like I have powerful work ethic, and that's what's made me successful. Confidence, take it out of it. I don't think you need confidence to be successful per se.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Work ethic, it's another topic. It's another great topic that we can talk about later. But I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, big time. We're gonna get in shit. His wife's gonna kill him, and then me.
Yeah, I need to go. Yeah, it's probably gonna be a 35-minute drive.
We need podcast names.
So if there's anyone, if this goes out, we need a name.
And the only thoughts I had so far was Eljay Eric, so something that involves 2 E's. It doesn't have CrossFit in it.
CrossFit is life.
Alright, that's it.
That's it, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming
Thanks
over.
for hosting. Yeah. And we will be back.